da, and welcome back to my channel if you are a returning visitor, and if you are new to the channel, hello and welcome. I'm Yukiro, and today I'm going to talk about a couple of references, mostly from Hazbin Hotel, but there's one or two from Helluva too. Some of these are very common and well known. Some of them doesn't seem to be as well known as I would have expected to see, especially Disney sort of references, but we'll get to those. So the first reference I would like to talk about is the Eden. So Lucifer's hat represents the Garden of Eden story. It has a snake to represent the serpent that tempted Eve, and an apple that Eve ate. Also, Lucifer's cane has an apple on the end of it as well. I thought this was a nice little subtle nod to the Garden of Eden story. Now, I'm not Christian myself, but I grew up with a mother who was. So I still remember most of the tales of, different things. So anyway, carrying on to reference number 2. Serpentius's name. So most of you probably already know this one. But for those that don't, Serpentius's name is a play on the word serpent. And he is, well, for better or worse, a snake or serpent type sinner. That he was also the first sinner to be redeemed is an ironic nudge towards the serpent in the Garden of Eden. And I think it's quite nice that they made him the first to be redeemed. It's just kind of like symbolic in a way. Okay, the next reference I would like to point out is that Charlie's phone has rather interesting context in them. So basically, in a blink and you miss it scene, if you pause on the image of Charlie's phone, you can see her contacts. You have those that you would expect to see there, like angel dust, but there are some big names there too, Azael and Ammon being two of them. So Lucifer and Charlie's surname, moving on to the next point, are some of the few characters that actually have a surname in either series. Their last name, Morningstar, is a nod towards the Latin name of Lucifer, which the translation is Morning Star. That was the original translation before Lucifer took over as the most common name for the fallen angel. Until then, he was just known as the Morning Star. Speaking of Lucifer, for those of you who remember this reference, but when the song Hell's Greatest Dad plays, Lucifer plays Golden Fiddle, which is a callback to a song from the 1970s. It's before my time, but the song was titled The Devil Went Down to Georgia. I actually do know the song. I've watched the music video a few times. It's quite entertaining in a way. Anyway, it's about a man named Johnny who challenged the devil to a musical duel and won the devil's golden fiddle. I'm going to assume that with Lucifer having it back, either this particular scene hasn't happened yet, or more than likely Lucifer managed to win his fiddle back. So continuing on with Lucifer, for those of you who have either missed it or just weren't really paying attention, Lucifer is left-handed. Although mostly considered an old wives' tale these days, being left-handed was always thought to show a person being possessed or born of the devil. Again, it's not as common now in this day and age. Maybe it is somewhere in the world. You never know. Some people still believe in certain things. But that's a nice little nod to that little old wives' tale. Sticking with Lucifer. This isn't proven yet, so take what I say with a grain of salt. But when Kiki shapeshifts into a key for Lucifer to use, it looks very much like a keyblade from the popular game Kingdom Hearts. It is a Japanese game that mixed with Disney, and it is well established that Fizzy Pop is a huge Disney fan. So I speculate that she probably has played Kingdom Hearts and decided to throw in the reference there. Or it could just be like complete coincidence, but with how big of a Disney fan Fizzy Pop is, I can't see why she wouldn't have known about it. Okay, on to the next one. So as mentioned in a previous video, both Hazbin Hotel and Helluva show hints of a circus theme. Lucifer is the ringleader of the circus show, and his outfit and various background scenes showcase this. The deadly sins also represent different parts of the circus act. I go into more depth of that on another video, and I believe Charlie is sort of like the parade marshal. So it's a nice little reference to the circus and, you know, the seven rings of the circus, so to speak. Moving away from Lucifer for a hot minute, let's talk about Adam. So, during the first episode, one can see Adam eating a plate of meat. For those of you who didn't really recognise the particular meat dish, those are ribs. And it is a rather amusing callback to the story of Adam and Eve. It was said that Eve was created from one of Adam's ribs after Lilith refused to be subservient to him. I don't know if this is like a hint towards something with Eve, but it is a rather an amusing little nudge towards that story. Okay, kind of going back to Lucifer, but not really. So in Helluva, the IMP go to a place called Lululand. That's Lu with 2 O's, which is really amusing because that's kind of what we call the toilet over here. But anyway, disregarding that. This is a rip-off of the more popular Lulu World. That's Lu with 2 U's. Lulu World is owned by Lucifer, and the name difference and legal notice one sees in the background is so that Mammon, the sin of greed, cannot be struck legally by Lucifer. So there'll be no copyright infringement here. Even though there blatantly is, but he's done enough to kind of squeak by the legality of it all. Which is quite amusing, really. Okay, so let's move on. So, this next reference is one I see brought up a lot, but not in the context it is actually in reference of. So, many think the green that surrounds Alistair during certain scenes hints towards his soul being owned by the deadly sin of greed. This is actually not the case. The green smoke and background surrounding Al during certain scenes is actually a Disney reference to old school Disney villains. Often they too were pictured with the same green smoke during the villain songs. So I thought this was a really nice subtle hint towards Fizzy Pop's love for Disney. She probably really enjoys her Disney villains, much like I do. My favourite is probably Scar and Hades, but I like most of the old school Disney villains. They were fun. They were really fun to watch. And this last reference, in keeping with everyone's dear friend, yes, I'm pulling out the dad jokes, is when Alistair takes on his stronger form and uses his powers and magic to summon large tentacle-like appendages. This is a nod towards eldritch gods, and might be a hint as to where he got his powers from. It suddenly would fit into all of his themes. I also see people think that Alistair is a Wendigo. There is a lot of sort of like crossover between cannibalism and what many assume is like deer-like references to the Wendigo. Now, I'm not a Native American, I'm not even American, but I know a lot of Native Americans actually don't believe the two are sort of like linked. Wendigos to them are not deer-like. I know a lot of other Americans do associate the two together, but as far as I know, they're not actually connected. But any Native American can correct me on that. It's also probably best not to say the word, although I actually already have, because I did. There's a whole lore surrounding those cryptids. But I personally, I can understand where those who don't quite understand like the lore of these cryptids and why they would assume Alistair was. But as far as I know, he isn't. And the references people usually point towards him being one is actually linked to the two I've just mentioned. That's not quite a reference, but I thought I'd put it in there just as one last little nod towards everyone's favourite sadistic cannibal. Anyway, that was some references I noticed. Obviously, there's a whole lot more within both Hazbin Hotel and Helluva, but these were the ones I found interesting. Let me know down in the comments below if there were others that you found interesting that I haven't already mentioned. This is Yukiro again, and I'll see you soon. And it's still morning, so Borada. Stay safe, stay hydrated, and I'll see you in the next one.